The honourable member for Langley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I listened intently to my colleague across the way, and he addressed the importance of environmental assessments. And I would agree that environmental assessments on any project in Canada that must be considered, that we respect environmental assessments because they're important. They should be science-based. And when an environmental assessment happens, it's important that we listen to them. We don't have to agree with that decision, but to show respect for that environmental assessment, it's important that we make decisions based on logic and based on science. Now, the reason why I bring this up is the member highlighted the importance of environmental assessments, and yet just 2 days ago, Mr. Speaker, the Northern Gateway pipeline was referred to. There was an environmental assessment that was started over 4 years ago. There was 1,450 interveners that spoke. There was over 9,000 letters and correspondence. First Nations consulted. And after this environmental assessment was completed, the government then considered the report and the recommendations of that, and the independent judicial body that did this environmental assessment recommended that the Northern Gateway pipeline go ahead, providing it met this 209 criteria. And the government considered that carefully, Mr. Speaker, and after careful consideration, we agreed with that. Now, my question is, why would the member say we're going to, as a party, NDP, ideology is that we're going to ignore an environmental assessment like that? So when will they recognize scientific-based environmental assessments, and when will their ideology get in the way? Thank you.
The honourable member for York South-Weston.
Mr. Speaker, it's not a question of ideology, it's a question of representing the people of Canada. And the people of Canada, and particularly the people of British Columbia, are very much opposed to this pipeline. And the government, having weakened and eliminated environmental assessment process entirely in the bill in 2012, and also having removed from protection the Navigable Waters Protection Act, which used to require that any pipeline that crossed a navigable water had to have a shutoff on either side of that navigable water. Since there's no navigable waters almost left in Canada anymore, by regulation and by part of the Act. Therefore, the pipelines can cross them without any safety measures. That's the law. That's the regulation. That's what we're opposed to, Mr. Speaker. We're opposed to situations in which, by regulation, the environment can be harmed. By the lack of regulation of this government, we, on this side of the House, believe that government has a duty to protect Canada, Canadians, the environment, and where we live. And if we abandon that in some misguided attempt to balance the interests of Canadian economy, we're not doing Canada or Canadians any service whatsoever.